2008 economic recession, local governments have experienced a lack of revenue growth from sales taxes. This is a trend that has county leaders rather concerned, and on top of that, they're not really sure exactly why recent sales tax revenue has stagnated, just that it's not there. Joining me now to help us delve deeper into this issue is NYSAC Executive Director Stephen Aquario. As always, it is good to see you in the studio.
Thank you.
Okay, so we should just set the stage here. County governments and local governments generally get most of their revenue from sales tax and from property taxes, correct?
Well, local governments, school districts predominantly, local governments use property tax as one of the primary means to fund their operations.
Right.
However, another important taxation that runs the government, in this particular case, the counties, is sales tax. So those two forms of revenue, that's how we provide, fix potholes, run the services, all the things that we do.
And as a percentage of the average county budget, what would you say sales tax revenue is?
Well, I'd say, that I don't know off the top of my head, but I would say that between property and sales, those are the two predominant forms. Property tax used to be the predominant form. Sales tax became more important in the upstate counties, surpassing the amount of monies collected. So sales tax, very important upstate, very important downstate as well on Long Island, which typically uses sales tax, less reliance on property taxes.
Well, what's interesting about this, though, is that we have a lot of ideological discussions about whether sales tax is actually regressive, right? A number of people say that it is, because if you have a lot of money, you have a lot of disposable income and a lot of discretion. You can choose whether or not you want to buy something. If you don't have a lot of money and you're living closer to the margins, you get hit more with sales tax, arguably because you have to spend a higher percentage of your income on necessities.
Absolutely true, but nobody wants to pay any taxes.
That's true.
Property, sales, we have to do it. We have to provide the services to the people. Unfortunately, this is the system that we have.
So we don't have any idea why we are experiencing a slump in sales tax?
Well, I think what concerns us right now is we have 6 months, 2 quarters. One quarter where we closed out 2013 and the first quarter of 2014. Those are the two latest returns that we have, both negative. We're not used to negative quarters in New York State, county governments, local governments. Having negative collections of sales tax is not a good sign.
So it means people are spending less.
Well, we're trying to analyze what happened here. Why is it that in the last quarter of 2013, we collected a negative amount over that same time frame a year before that? So in 2012, how did we finish that year? We look at 2013. It's very important to track what happens in the government because it's reflective of what's going on in society. Let's remember what happened during those times. Well, it was very cold. It was a very cold winter. The construction of Superstorm Sandy may have subsided at that point in time. Irene, Lee, these tropical storms that we've had, they all inflated the sales tax collections, especially on Long Island, the Hudson Valley area, certain parts of the Mohawk Valley and the southern tier. All that's gone now. So that has slowed. But we're trying to understand why the collections dropped. It's important to try to figure that out.
Well, how long is it going to take you to figure it out?
Well, there's no actual way of knowing. It's consumer confidence, it's consumer spending. We'll track it. We have to work with the state. I think Governor Cuomo is right that his attention is on upstate because if you look at what is happening in New York City, very steady collections. They're not seeing the negative collections that the most upstate counties are seeing right now. In fact, New York City could surpass all 57 counties together in the collection of sales tax. So one city, 57 counties, they're almost equal right now in collections. Downstate is not suffering right now.
Okay, so what to do about it is the question. I mean, you don't want to raise the sales tax, right? I mean, that would be one way to compensate. Fewer people, very rudimentary. Fewer people spending, tax the fewer people who are spending at a higher rate and therefore make up your difference. That's one way that you could do it, right? But the danger would be that fewer people would spend because the tax was higher.
Well, I think the efforts in New York State by the New York governor, by the state legislature, is the attention on property taxes. They're too high. They're highest in the nation. We're doing something about it. We're all working together to lower them. We're sharing services. That's the way forward. But sales tax, too, is also an important piece here. I don't think that we're looking to raise the sales taxes. I think this is just a reflection of the new reality of the new New York, the new economy here. In the past 20 years, from 1990 to 2010, the local governments could anticipate 5% collection of their sales tax return. It was almost guaranteed. the recession came, and that is now cut in half. So we can no longer budget 4 or 5% returns of sales tax collections to run the public programs. We have to budget half that. That's the new reality. We're going to be talking about less government services, less expenditures at the local government level. That's what's going to happen.
And with the property tax freeze that the governor has proposed, that was in the budget actually, I mean, what is that going to do, compounding this situation, I would imagine?
Well, that's the crossroads that we're at right now. The local governments have been told to cap their property taxes or freeze them, and the residents will receive a rebate from the state of New York. That's a good thing. But the convergence between the reduced sales tax and the reduced property tax revenues, the public is still going to want the roads plowed. The public is still going to want to have road patrol, the jail safe, public health clinics open, mental health services available, all the programs and services that are offered to the people of New York. They're going to expect those and want those. So it's going to be a challenge. We're going to get through this period of time, but it is presenting a difficult situation.
But when the rebate checks actually come and people realize how much they're worth, which is to say not a lot, and then they go to their local governments and say, well, why are you only plowing every other day during a snowstorm instead of every day? Do you think that that's when local governments will be able to drive home the message, which is we're going to have to blow the 2% cap and you won't get your $350 rebate check?
Well, I hope it doesn't come to that point. I hope that we can work together with the state of New York and with the local governments themselves, working together to try to provide this rebate.
Okay, but how realistic is that?
That remains to be seen. I'm not sure how realistic. I anticipate that the New York counties will stay under the property tax cap for the first year. The second year, as we go forward, and the years beyond that, we have to work together with the state.
But that's where the rub lies, right? Because the average homeowner lives in a number of different taxing districts. A county district, a village district, a town district, a city district, a school district, what have you, whatever those districts might be. And if 2 of them stay under the cap, but the other 3 do not, or whatever it is that the calculus ends up to be, what does that mean? Has the state been clear with you on that yet?
Well, it's a very confusing process. It really is. We are working with the state. We met with the state budget director last Friday to talk about this going forward, how we're going to implement this. It will be confusing somewhat to the homeowner, but from the county's perspective, we are going to take the lead. The law says that the county should take the lead on bringing together and convening the local governments. We're going to do that. We're going to enter this thing with a full vigor and spirit of the law and try to make it work.
But how, okay, and again, how realistic is that? I don't mean to be harping on it. It just seems not entirely thought out. And the reason why I say this is because we, too, spoke to Bob Megna not terribly long ago. And he seems to indicate that the look back, when you talk about consolidation and saving efforts, right? I mean, this is year 2. You're supposed to get credit if, in fact, you had been working to make these efforts so you don't have to keep doing them going forward. If you've already made efficiencies and keeping this and hitting that 1% target, then your constituents and your residents can continue to get that rebate. But the Senate didn't seem to be. Kathy Marchone was here, and she said, "Oh no, the look back's going to be till '08." Bob Megna said, "No, it's going to be a year." I mean, I don't really understand where that lies. Do you know where it lies?
I don't know where it lies, but I think that, in my mind, logically, you'd want to take it back to when the recession hit and what were the local governments doing at that time to adjust to the new economic realities. We've talked about the collection of sales tax. That affected what we were able to do during those recessionary years at a time when the state shifted $350 million to the local governments, to the counties. But with all that said, we have to make this work. It's the law right now, and we're going to do our best to make it work.
You know, laws in New York can be changed by statute. That's what the legislature does. I'm just pointing that out. I'm not saying this is workable or not workable. It just seems awfully complicated.
It is a very complicated program, but we are going to convene a municipal innovation exchange summit with the School Boards Association, the Association of Towns, the Conference of Mayors, this Friday in Onondaga County. We're going to bring together all these different aspects of local government and school districts and start the discussion. Talk about collaborating. What are we doing in Nassau County that could benefit Erie County? What's happening in the Adirondacks that the Southern Tier can benefit and the Capital District can contribute as well?
Will New York City play ball with that?
They're not involved with this property tax /freeze rebate program, but there is a lot of lessons we can too learn from the city, as it is a consolidated government, city, county.
Right. Well, we will have to check back with you about that. I thank you very much, Steve Aquario. It's always fascinating to talk to you.